Hello everyone, I am Dr. Somnath Rai Chaudhuri. I will be dealing with some of the modules for this GATE Biotechnology program. I am sure that by now you know that what are the subtopics or what are the sub-segments that you need to cover for this GATE preparation. So in the first class, we are starting with the module of molecular biology, under which we will be venturing along the subtopic that is mutation and mutagenesis. So basically, before going to the details, I would like to discuss about some of the terminologies you may say. I'm sure you know, but let me just quickly have a recap on that. That is mutation, mutagenesis, which both are written already on the board. Apart from that, mutants and mutagens. So we need to have a very clear-cut idea about what do these terms specifically mean. These two are more or less very commonly known, and you are very much familiar with this, that mutants are basically the product of the mutation. So when we are inducing a mutation in a particular gene in the chromosome of an organism, whatever the result we are getting, that may be a change in genotype, that may be a change in phenotype. So the result, basically mutants are the resulting organisms that are getting generated because of the mutation. And what are mutagens? Obviously the physical or chemical agents that are inducing mutation. So these two are rather very common and very easy to understand, but these two things are having a subtle difference. That is, what is mutation and what is mutagenesis. Mutation is basically the process. That means, suppose you have a DNA segment and you are subjecting this particular chromosome or gene to some mutagenic agent. If I say MA, mutagenic agent. So after that, say for example, you got a change in this base, say this is C here. So this particular thing is mutation. But what is mutagenesis? That means the process where we are inducing this thing will be mutagenesis. So I hope this is clear. So mutagenesis is under your control. You are basically putting some agents on the gene, and like you cannot actually control that whether these treatment will be bringing any mutation or not. So mutagenesis is basically a birth of mutation. You are subjecting your DNA, you are doing some treatments. If the mutagenesis is successful, you get a mutation. So these are the very common things that you need to first identify before you are going into the details of this particular process. Now, for your GATE syllabus, we need to basically learn different types of mutations and like some examples of mutagens. That means we will be learning names of some mutagens, how do they act, and what are the type of the mutation that they are going to induce on the DNA. So if I want to ask you that so mutation is giving a rise in genotype. Suppose there is a question in GATE that mutation gives rise to change in genotype, change in phenotype, both, neither. So what should be the answer? The answer should be both. I mean, a mutation generally will start with change in the genotype and it will be causing some change in the phenotype, because you can see if I am changing this particular, say this is a codon. So if I am changing this base of this codon, obviously we may get an alteration in the amino acid sequence. Yes, definitely there is a kind of mutation that you know, that is silent mutation, that we will be discussing. So you may question that for silent mutation we are not actually getting a change in the phenotype. Yes, I do agree, but that is an exception obviously. Generally, when we are mutating DNA, it should be changing the amino acid composition, and obviously there will be the change in the protein that it is coding for. Now, people often get confused between two things. That is, when I was talking about the change in phenotype, what do I actually mean? So, let me clear this concept that there are two things, that is phenotype and what I call is a visible phenotype. What do I mean with that? A phenotype, you all know, that is the external characteristics of an organism that we can see. But at the same time, any kind of change. So what I am trying to focus with a visible phenotype is, suppose there is a mutation in the gene and that is getting reflected in the external structure of our organism. That where I want to focus is, it may happen that there are some changes internal. That is, this change, say for example, I am doing a mutation, say a CCC sequence is now getting changed to GGG. Obviously, this will be bringing a change in the protein. But this change in the protein may not reflect with the change in a visible phenotype. So this you definitely need to clear your concept, that a change in phenotype may not be always visible. So to be precise, we may call it, let's call it an invisible phenotype. I mean, so this phenotype you cannot actually like figure out properly, but still there is some changes. So this is an overall idea for the background information. Now we will be moving on with some types of mutation that I discussed. So if we categorize this mutation on a broad aspect, we have two subtypes. Number one is macrolesions, and number two is microlesions. So what do I mean with these two terms? Obviously, mutations means a change in the DNA composition. So macrolesions means you have a DNA and you have a change over a stretch of DNA. This is macrolesions. So say for example, I have a DNA like this. I am getting an altered DNA, say this entire stretch is absent. So these mutations will be coming under macrolesions. Definitely there are some other subtypes of macrolesions I will be discussing. So let's first figure out what are microlesions. So obviously in macrolesions you are changing a stretch of DNA, but for microlesions you are basically, if I am considering the same stretch of DNA, A, T, 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 G, G, G. So macrolesion will be a particular change in a single base pair. So you can clearly figure out macrolesions are over a broader area of the DNA, whereas microlesions are over a small, or rather a single base of the particular DNA. Now, the obvious question that next strike your mind is, which type of mutation should be more lethal for an organism? Whether those are macrolesions or microlesions. So you take some time to think. Meanwhile, I proceed with some other topics. I will be coming back to the question after a few minutes. So let's now elaborate the different types of macrolesions. Broadly, there are 5 types of macrolesions. We start with insertion mutations. Obviously, the reverse, that is deletion mutation. Number 3, inversion mutation. Duplication mutation. And translocation mutation. So I think these terminologies are absolutely fine to understand that what do they actually mean. just to quickly discuss, in the insertion mutation, suppose you have a gene or a stretch of chromosome. This is the wild type. After the mutation, you are getting an insert. This was the wild type, and after the mutation, say you are getting, this was HC, an additional stretch of the DNA. Say I have a GGGG insertion, and then again this CGG. So this is the insertion mutation. That means in this particular case, in the region, in a certain region of the chromosome, you are getting an insertion of a DNA element. So obviously, you can easily understand what should be the deletion mutation. Just you get the case reversed. Suppose this is my wild type case, and I am getting a deletion of this entire segment. In the mutant, I am getting AG. So this is wild type. This is mutant 1. Say this is mutant 2. So this is an insertion mutation, and this is a deletion mutation. So it's very clear that in both the cases we are getting an alteration in a stretch of DNA. So obviously they are coming under the category of macrodeletions. So now inversion is very easy. It is simply a tandem inversion of a sequence. Or say if this was my sequence, say TA, I am basically inverting the sequence here or somewhere anywhere. So inversion means what was my sequence in the wild type, it is simply an inversion of a particular stretch of DNA. Coming to the duplication, it's nothing about, just you can think about a Xerox machine in the molecular level. So you have a DNA stretch, say ATT, say CCC. What you have? You have a photocopy of this entire sequence. So this was your wild type case, and this was your mutant case. So these are the 4 topics, and finally the translocation mutation. Translocation is nothing. Say for example, let's take an example from human being. So we have basically 23 pairs of chromosomes. So this is say one chromosome. Say this is chromosome 1. And say this is chromosome 3. This is random depiction. So maybe one case where a region for the from the chromosome 1 is coming to chromosome 2. So that means a region from genome is getting translocated to another position. So this is basically, you can consider translocation as maybe a special case of insertion, because in both the cases you are having one insertion mutation. But what I need to make you understand is, translocation is generally considered that a particular segment from a genome of an chromosome is going to some other place. So insertion and translocation, the impact of both the mutations are more or less same, but still conventionally these are the 5 subcategories of macrodeletions. Now moving on to the microdeletions. So as I already mentioned, that these microdeletions are basically a single an alteration in the single base. These are also known as, I'm sure you are familiar with this term, point mutation. Okay, so under this macrodeletions, the subcategories are one is base pair substitution, another is frame shift. So generally 4 types of frame shifts are again observed. Last one, plus 2, minus 1, minus 2. So obviously, so frame shift is basically, you must be knowing it, that say this is my open reading frame of a DNA, say this is say this is, okay, let me consider a start codon. From here I am starting AUG, CCC, AAA, something like that. Okay, so frame shift means my reading frame will be moved with either plus 1 or plus 2, or it will be coming backward. Minus 1, minus 2. So how do they do? That we will be discussing later. But now let me finish this segment first. So as I mentioned, there are 4 subcategories of frame shift mutation. So the obvious question is, why not plus 3 and so on? Why not minus 3 and so on? So obviously the answer should be, like the answer is basically governed by the genetic code that you must be familiar with. Say if I am considering this particular DNA segment, say CCC, GGG, AAA. I am taking a very simple example. So I can have this one as my open reading frame, since we have triplet codons, right? So for my plus 1, for my plus 1 shift, now the reading frame changes from here and so on. For my plus 2, it starts from here. Now obviously if I go to plus 3, that means I am just omitting a triplet, but that is not a clear mutation, because for frame shift mutations are only those mutations where you must be having a change in the reading frame. But for plus 3, it may be a mutation definitely, but we cannot tell it a frame shift mutation, because the ultimate product of this will be just devoid of one amino acid. Say if this is my wild type, I get these 3 things. For frame shift mutation, all these amino acids are going to change. But if I think plus 3, what I will get is, I am not getting just these amino acids. So it will be basically a truncated version. Yes, I do not disagree. This cannot be a mutation, but that is not a frame shift mutation. So please focus here that when I am talking about these 2 terms, these are frame shift mutations. But in case you are having a plus 3 shift, that is definitely a change in the amino acid. That definitely is a mutation, but that is definitely not a frame shift mutation. So I think this concept is now clear to you. Similarly, for minus 1, minus 2 also the same concept comes. For minus 1, my reading frame starts from here. For minus 2, my reading frame starts from here. Again, if I go to minus 3, that means what? My actual reading frame does not change. I am getting these 3 amino acids, maybe some additional amino acid in this way. So this is the case. So these 4 category mutations are coming under the frame shift mutation. Now, so these macrolesions and microlesions concept is coming, like you can say that this category is basically about where the mutation is taking place. That means this category is based on the position of the mutation which are taking place on the genome. But there is another category of mutation that is basically you are classifying those mutations based on what is the impact of the thing. Like, see, whatever I have covered so far, these are basically what? These are basically a change in the position of the DNA. But you actually do not know how will these changes behave. Obviously, they are going to change something on your genome and eventually in the phenotype. But how they are actually changing your phenotype, or what will be the cause, or rather what will be the result of these changes, you do not know. So in the next segment, I will be discussing those mutations, or rather the classification of the mutations, which will be discussing about different types, or rather to be very specific, that what are the impact of this mutation. So under these, I am not going to categorize all the things, but rather I will be preferring to discuss some subtopics or some subsegments of this type of mutation. So as I discussed, let's start with the first case, that is silent mutation. So silent mutation was, or rather how to define this, say this is my sequence. And again I am telling, I am considering some random examples. Silent mutations are those mutations where you do not, although you get a change in the genome sequence, but you do not get a change in the resultant protein. Like say this is a codon, say for example this is for alanine, and say this is a codon, this is for proline. So when I am going to tell a mutation as a silent mutation, when despite having a change in the gene level, I am not getting any change in the protein level. So this is a mutation because as per the definition of mutation, you are getting an altered DNA. But why this is silent? Because superficially you are not going to get a change in the protein product. Now the obvious question comes, how does this mutation work? So silent mutations are generally mutation of the base in the third position of the codon. Am I clear? So if this is my wild type codon, say or wild type DNA, say I have introduced a mutation for which I am now getting an altered base, say this is now ACT and okay, GGC. So when I am going to tell it as a silent mutation, if there is a condition, if these two DNA and their eventual mRNA codon codes for alanine. Am I clear? So ACC is also coding for alanine and ACT is also coding for alanine. If this is the case, although these are very random examples, but I am sure by now you all know the basic concept of codon degeneracy, where you have learned in your molecular biology that multiple codons can code for a single amino acid, right? So this is the case. It may happen that sometimes a change in third position may not be like giving you some nonsense mutation, the silent mutation, but this is generally a thumb rule because it has been observed that in most of the cases this third position of the codon is degenerate. So this is the thing, this is the next category of mutation that we have covered. So this is overall silent mutation. So the take home message is, silent mutations are those mutations who are changing the composition of the DNA or composition of a gene, but they are not changing the composition of the amino acid. So I hope you enjoyed this class. In the next class, we will be discussing about the other types of the mutation.